Hey everyone, it's Amanda here from Expedition HR. It's been awesome spending a little bit of time with each of you to get to know you and your roles at First Choice Wealth Management. As I get familiarized with the team structure and everybody's role within the business, I thought it would be a great opportunity for us to sit down, since you guys do have a small team, and really just start to identify who's responsible for what, and do we have someone cross-trained to do those tasks in case you're out sick, or something transpires where you're not able to be in as expected. And so this is really just an important exercise with small teams because, as you know, it's an all hands on deck approach. As we're supporting clients and just each other to make sure that we get everything accomplished that we need to. And so this RACI, which again I will explain and go into a little bit more detail about what that means, is going to be the building blocks to making sure that we have processes and documentation around the different tasks that you do each day. Again, so that if someone new joins the team or in your absence, someone's going to be able to complete those tasks that are a little bit more nuanced because there's the documentation and notes in place. So let's go ahead and take a peek at the RACI here. You should be able to see it up on my screen. Now, this is in no particular order, but I thought with the team size and structure the way that it is, it would be nice for everyone to have access to each other's RACI. So you'll see here, everybody on the team's name is listed below here. The sheets are exactly identical. So just go ahead, click on your name, and that RACI will be for all of the different tasks that you are specifically responsible for. Now, you might be wondering what RACI stands for, and I went ahead and created this little legend over here off to our right so that as you go through and identify each of these pieces for the tasks that you complete, it's always going to be top of mind for you. So let's talk about what RACI stands for. So RACI stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. And so you'll find for your individual RACI, likely you are going to be the person who's responsible. There may be times where two people can do that piece of the role or the task. That's totally fine to list multiple people there. But you can also list yourself here as responsible. And then I included this section here, or I should say this column here, backup, so that if you are absent, does somebody know how to do that task and who is that person? So that's really what you'll want to do for the responsible piece. Now, accountable is who signs off on the final product. So maybe there's a piece of a project that you're responsible for, or when I was thinking about your team, maybe, you might be prepping files for someone else to hold an in-person client meeting. At that point in time, that person who's holding the client meeting is going to be accountable to make sure that everything that's in that file is prepped and ready to go so that when the meeting comes up with the client, everybody is aligned and you have an agenda for what the plan is to discuss. Now, consulted is a little bit different. This is more someone who you're just looking for input, or their expertise in how to do something. So they're not really going to do the action itself or the task itself, but you may rely on them to say, hey, what do you think of this? Or do you think I'm heading in the right direction? It's okay to have nobody here too. There are some tasks where you might just have it and own it. That's totally okay. You can go ahead, you can type NA here, you can do a little dash, really whatever makes the most sense to you. And then the last is informed. So who needs to be kept up to date? And I don't want to use the same example, but I guess I will in the instance of file prep. Who is it that needs to know when you're ready so that they can go ahead and again schedule those client meetings? And I broke this RACI down into tasks that are daily for you to do, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, and then those ad hoc tasks that are kind of just as needed. And of course, you might need more space than this, so feel free to go ahead and play around and manipulate this document. You can go ahead and add more rows. I assume that specifically for daily and probably maybe even monthly, these will get quite expansive. I want you to get as granular as you can here. What I suggest to some people as they're getting started with the RACI is as you go through your day to day, have either a sticky note or a notepad at your desk where as you're doing a thing, you can write it down on your notebook and come back to this RACI maybe at the end of the day or the beginning of the next day, however you kind of fit it into your schedule to add to whichever section you feel is appropriate here. And so again, hopefully you'll start to see how this will help build in opportunities again for cross training. So if we find out that there's a task on here that only one person does and they're the only ones that kind of know about it, you understand why that might be an issue. And let's talk about how we get someone cross trained on how to do that. So again, there's always that secondary person there available to take on those tasks as need be. So each of these sheets are individually yours. So again, go ahead, play around with them. This color scheme is just the color scheme for Expedition HR, and it's my template. So if you are like, it doesn't jive with me, I want this to be purple and pink, by all means, please go ahead and update this as, as it's more appealing to your eye. The only suggestion or request that I'll make is just to please leave the daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly in here so that, again, those are all the same. And then as we look at them side by side, we'll be able to easily compare them and cross-check who is doing what. So I encourage you to all go ahead, start this process and implement it into your day really over the next week. That tends to be, I know Monday was Labor Day, so that's a little bit tricky. So we can kind of bleed into next week if that makes sense too. But typically within a week, you'll start to be able to gather at least a lot of the daily tasks. And just know too that this is something we want to be a living, breathing document. So as you are all of a sudden receiving new responsibilities or things change, please update this as you see fit. We want to make sure that it's always relevant. And then too, like I mentioned, this will really be the building block as we build more processes and documentation around the things that we do. So it's just important for this to be as thorough and robust as possible. Really wishing I could be in person with you guys to highlight this for you, but I'm hoping this video was helpful. You have my contact information. If you have any questions along the way, please let me know, but really excited to kick off this process. Again, just to make sure that we have really good documentation in place so that we know what the team is up to. See you later, guys.